Hello, listeners and fellow book lovers. Welcome to the Book Snug, a bi-weekly conversational podcast about books and the reading life. My name is Stephany.
And I'm Julia.
We're a mother and a daughter who love reading and talking about books, the ones we adore and the ones we don't. We're delighted you're here, so grab your favorite hot drink or ice-cold beverage and settle in for another cozy, bookish chat.
Hi, Mom.
Hi, Julia.
Happy New Year.
Happy 2026.
Boy. We were watching the New Year show last night. I was like, those are weird numbers to see put together. 2026.
I just can't believe that we are starting a new year. I
Oh
feel
my
like
gosh.
2025 was a blur.
I know. I don't know what happened in April or July or August. I don't know.
So here we are.
Yes.
It is the first day of January.
Yeah.
So we are definitely celebrating
Yes.
2026.
Whether we believe it or not. And Happy New Year to you, our dear friends and listeners. Thank you so much for joining us for another year of podcasting.
Happy New Year.
Yay. I have a loaded question for you, Mom.
Okay.
Because we're in a new year, is there anything that you have upcoming for this year that you were very excited about?
Well, I have a grandbaby coming.
Yeah. And that's why I said loaded question.
I'm very excited about that. I'm just excited to see what God has in store for me. I know that the year will be filled with many blessings, things that I can't even imagine.
Yeah.
I also know that there will be some sad things because
It's life.
that is what life is like.
Yeah.
But I am definitely looking forward to meeting my little grandbaby. And we have a trip to the beach planned in September that I'm really looking forward to. And those are the two things I can think of off the top of my head because you didn't prepare me ahead of time.
I never do, and I'm so sorry.
What about you, Julia?
Yeah.
Are you looking forward to anything?
I mean, right, loaded question. I mean, there is a level of excitement for meeting this baby that is also wrapped up with a lot of apprehension about not knowing what I'm getting into.
Right.
But next year is a very wild year because we have the baby, we have to move, we have 2 trips at the end of the year. So there's a lot happening that I'm already overwhelmed with.
A big year for you.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I know it's going to be good. But also as we were watching the New Year's show yesterday, I just remember like I was watching and I was like, 2020, we were all so excited for 2020. And then the pandemic hit and just how it totally just changed everything.
Yeah.
And so I'm just sitting here on this first day of this new year, like excited because it's a new chance to do new things and whatever. But I'm also like, what is sitting on the horizon?
The only thing I can say as a believer in God is that no matter what happens, He's in control.
100%.
And He will bring us through.
Yeah.
And there will be a reason for it, even if we don't understand it.
Oh my gosh,
ever know
yes.
why.
Yeah.
I don't have to feel like I'm being flung to the whims of the universe and
Hither and thither.
Right? But you do have a big year with a lot of unknowns, and I can understand how that can be unsettling.
Yeah. It's cautious excitement is I think how I want to say it. Because it's good things.
Yes.
I love vacations. I got 2 of them coming. But there's a lot of also of other things too that I don't know how to anticipate how it's going to play out. And I think that not knowing creates a lot of...
There's definitely worry there.
Yeah.
That's normal.
Yeah. Looking back on 2025, and maybe I should have done this question first, but is there a highlight that stands out for you from 2025?
From 2025? Oh, I have many highlights. My youngest son, Aaron, who was on the show, got married to Paige, who is also on the show.
If we're not a bookish family, I don't know.
And we had a great trip to our special beach place this year. I found out I was going to be a grandmother. So those are probably some of the highlights of this past year. I'm sure there are so many, but again, you didn't prepare me, so I'm relying on my decrepit old brain
Sorry, Mom.
to pull up the memories. Those are the big things, the big exciting things.
Yeah.
How about you?
I mean, the baby, and then for those of you listeners that are over baby talk, this will be done in a couple minutes, I promise. The baby, of course, didn't come at a great time in terms of what was happening at the time that we found out. But to have made it this far in the pregnancy is something that I'm just always speechless about.
So grateful.
Yes. Yeah. But I think the highlight for me for the last year, for 2025, is that as a whole, it was a quiet year. And the older I get, the more I appreciate quiet years. That it just feels that things are settling or things are settled and we can just kind of do life without needing to be concerned one way or the other. Yeah. I mean, there were health things here and there. There were, little blips, but it was like as a whole, a very, very quiet year, which I just am very appreciative of.
Yeah, that is always something to be very grateful for.
Yeah. I mean, especially because next year is going to be big and wild. I'm glad this year was quiet. Okay. Oh, blabbling aside. We always like to start, dear friends and listeners, our first episode with the new year, looking back at our goals, our reading goals of the past year, and then also reflecting on the best books that we read in that year.
Yeah.
Before we get into that, though, I feel like we have a couple of disclaimers to get out of the way. First and foremost, we are recording at the cabin. We have done this once before, but we did that outside. And so we got some really cool nature sounds while that was happening. It has snowed here at the cabin, so we are not outside. We are currently sitting inside, and there are vaulted ceilings, and we are doing our very best for sound control.
Yes.
But if it's echoey and things feel a little
tunnely,
right?
Yes,
we're
apologize.
And then secondly, we both are kind of nursing head colds to some degree. You can probably definitely hear it in my voice. You will probably definitely hear my nose whistle at some point. I will try to be on top of that, but it will happen.
It just happens.
And I know that there was something else we were going to go over, but I don't remember what.
I'm sure we'll come across it. Yeah.
Right. All of that is to say that if you've been with us for a while, you know that things can be a little chaotic, and this is just a chaotic episode.
I forgot to bring our microphone stands.
That's what it was.
So we are holding our microphones while we talk. You'll probably hear some in and out because we are both hand talkers.
Oh my gosh.
And so I can imagine our microphones are not always going to be close to our faces. So we apologize for that too.
Right. But okay, now we can settle into our conversation.
Sounds good.
So to get us started, are you drinking anything for this fabulously cozy, snowy reflection of good books?
I am drinking Harney & Sons Christmas tea because it just feels appropriate.
Yeah.
I will be putting Christmas away today or tomorrow when I get home. And this is my last Christmas tea bag. And so I thought I would just enjoy it while we talk about books.
Savor it.
What about you, Julia? What do you have in your little mug over there?
Well, I grabbed some teas to throw in my little tea thing to bring to the cabin. And the one I put in my cup without thinking about it, I didn't grab what it was called. Oh, because it's just a free-floating sachet. But I think it's a cranberry apple from Season's Greetings or something like that.
Celestial Seasonings?
Maybe. Yeah, I think it's that one. But it's cranberry, it's apple, it's holiday-ish without being like a smack you in the face holiday.
Over the top. Yeah. A winter tea.
Yeah.
Okay.
So all in all, we're being cozy for our conversation.
Yes, cozy, Christmassy, wintry.
Right. Okay, let's get into our goals. So, what goals did you have for the year? Did you have a number goal that you were trying to reach?
Well, anyone who has listened to the podcast for a while knows that, yes, I do a number goal every year. It's the same one. It ends up being about a book and a half per week. My reading goal is 70 books. And I way surpassed that this year. I read 98 books.
Jeez.
Towards the end of the year, I kind of fell off keeping track in Goodreads and Storygraph, which is really unusual for me, but the wheels really fell off in December, even November with my reading. Yeah. So I'm pretty sure I read 98 books, which, to be honest, is too many books for me. I can't, when I read that many books, I don't remember what I'm reading as well. And when I was preparing for this show, I just was a little bit disgusted that I couldn't recall, even the books I really loved, had a hard time recalling important things about them. So for next year, I'm going to make the goal 70 books again, but I'm going to try to stick closer to that number.
Okay.
Do you set a book goal?
Normally I do. When I put my goals together for 2025, I forgot to write a number goal. In the past, I have just stuck to what I've read, like used a previous year's benchmark as where I'm going.
Yeah.
And so I think as a whole, I had said maybe close to 40 books. Again, because I didn't write it down. It was kind of a nebulous thing.
I seem to recall that, though, that 40, you wanted to double the number that you read the year before.
Probably.
And I thought 40 was about that number. Yeah.
Well, I got close. If I counted correctly, I'm about 34.
Okay.
However, there are 9 DNFs in that number. Mm-hmm. And there are several that I've started that I have not continued, but those are not counted within the 34.
Okay.
So 34 is my number, including those 9 DNFs.
Right. But there was more effort in your reading than the number of book shows.
Right.
Is what you're saying.
Because I have quite a stack that I've started and have not finished. And so I don't want to call those DNFs, but I also don't want to give them, I read this book, because it's not, a decision has not been made on if I will DNF it or finish it or not.
Were your books physical books? Were they audio books? You don't really do ebooks, do you?
Well, I'm getting to that in my next question.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm jumping the gun. All right. Let's ask your next question.
So number goal. Do you have any other goals for the year?
I had several others. Mm-hmm. Do you want me to just list them?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah. However,
I wanted to read 12 nonfiction books for 2025 because looking back, I was realizing I was reading a ton of fiction and very little nonfiction. And I tend to rate my nonfiction pretty highly. Yeah. So 12 nonfiction books. I wanted to read 6 secular nonfiction and 6 faith-based books. I did not meet that goal. I read 5 faith-based books and 3 secular nonfiction. Okay. So I got some
You
done,
were close.
But I didn't meet the goal. And I'm fine with that because a goal like that for me is more just to push me to do more. I wanted to finish and catch up on all of the series I'm involved in. I don't even know how many series I am currently in the middle of. But I did finish 5 series. I caught up on 3. And 23 of the books that I read this year were in a series of some kind or other. So I felt like that was very successful. I wanted to read 5 classics, and I ended up reading 18. Some were rereads, and some were vintage murder mysteries. Okay. But I counted those as classics. Yeah. Because Agatha Christie, I would call a classic writer, a modern classic writer. And then finally, as always, I try to read from my shelves. So 29 of the 98 books that I read this year came from my owned shelves that I didn't purchase this year. You know what I mean? I've had them on my bookshelves for a while. So those were my goals. I feel pretty good about them. I could have probably read more books that I owned. Yeah. But I did a lot of library borrowing. I don't feel like I was purchasing a ton of books. But I feel overall pretty good about my reading as it relates to goals or intentions I made for 2025. What about you? I know you didn't do quite as many goals as I did.
So one of the goals was I wanted to continue to read books off of my shelf. I've read, so of the 34, including the DNFs, I read 13 from my shelf. So that's a pretty good fraction of that. I borrowed, so my numbers might be a little off here because of how I was keeping my book journal up until September, August, was kind of spread across multiple years, multiple pages. So it got a little tricky to keep track. But I believe that I borrowed 4. And I think these I all borrowed from you.
Okay.
It might be 5. Again, I need to double check. Library was 8.
Oh, good.
And Audible was 4.
Okay.
And then of the 13 that I read, 5 of those were purchased.
Okay.
So it kind of broke down quite nicely, with still a pretty good portion being ones that I owned. Another one of my goals was I wanted to be mindful of the books that I was purchasing. And so I was tallying them. I was doing pretty good with tallying up until about the fall.
That's where your reading kind of fell off.
That's where life changed.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that makes sense.
Then. So I bought a total of 11 books. I did not read, again, the 11 total does not reflect how many of the bought books I read this year, but I bought 11 total. 2 of them were inspired by Three Peas in a Pod. So it was the Heartless Hunter duology.
Okay. You bought both of those.
Right. And then I bought 4 on vacation.
Okay.
So that's 6. The other 5 are just nebulous when I was at
random.
Yeah. I had also wanted to read the Aragon series. I started the first book in like August, which was not near enough time to tackle the whole thing. And so I enjoyed what I was reading, but I knew I was setting myself up to fail. Right. So I tabled it.
So that was a goal for you to read the Aragon series. Got it.
I have a long-term goal of the Modern Mrs. Darcy reading journal where I read the books out of the journal. Specifically, I had that set up as Audible, and I would just kind of pick at it as I wanted. I read 2 of those this year. I'm in the middle of a 3rd.
Okay.
So I'm making some progress there. And then my final goal was a popular book bingo card.
Yes.
Where
I think we posted that on Instagram, didn't we?
Yeah. And if this is the first time you guys are hearing about this, you and I are both very much, Mom, if somebody tells us to read a book, our first gut reaction will probably be to run the other way.
Not. Yeah.
Right. And so this was an attempt for me to challenge myself a little bit on that. And I created a bingo card of the popular books that I said I would never read.
Right.
Within reason. Like 50 Shades is not on there. Or like other books that within reason I was never going to read.
Right.
And so it was my way of challenging myself a little bit on why am I so prejudiced against what is popular.
And maybe you're missing out on authors or types of stories that you really enjoy that you didn't know and wouldn't know any other way unless you did this.
Yeah. So for this bingo card, I was being very purposeful on that it was going to be books that were borrowed from people.
Okay.
Whether it was friends or family who had read the book that would let me borrow it, or I was getting it from the library.
Okay.
Which
is wise, because why would you want to spend money on books that you're really not sure that you're going to enjoy?
But that did also mean that I was very dependent on where the books were, how available they were. So I went into the library multiple times looking for The Hunger Games, and the first book was never there. So it did kind of slow me down a little bit in terms of what I picked or how I picked or what I was reading when, which meant that my bingo card, which was supposed to be a full blackout by the end of the year, I don't have a single bingo anywhere, like any of the regular 5 squares.
You've read books, but you're not getting a reward for it.
I have one that's close where I'm missing 1. And then I have another where I'm missing 2. So I'm close, but it's not the full blackout like I was aiming for.
Are you going to still work on that though?
Yeah.
Okay.
So of the bingo card, I read 7 and I DNF'd 2.
Okay. But you still get to cross those off.
Yeah. Yeah. So the board is
attempted.
Yeah. The board is getting colored. I was really interested in tackling this a lot here at the end of the year. There was a lot of books that I was like, I'm so excited. Like I'm going to read these. I have these set for the fall or the winter, or whatever. And, I had happened to get 2 library books 2 days before we found out I was pregnant. And within the 2 weeks that those books were due is when the first trimester, nausea, exhaustion, all of that fun stuff hit. So I never finished those books and got those books back to the library way, 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 way late. Which
How
then
much
just
was
meant
your fine?
11.
Oh, that's
once
not
I
bad.
returned the books.
Okay. I was thinking $40.
Well, they were going to charge me a replacement fee if I didn't get the books in. So once I returned the books, and it was only $11. But the point is this just really, really, it really had to change.
Right.
And so what I'm going to do, and we'll talk about this a little bit more at the end, is I am carrying this over to 2026. I am just going to adapt how I'm doing it just to make it easier because I am enjoying this process.
Yes.
And so I don't want a full stop, but I know that how I currently have it set up will not be attainable here in a couple of months. So I'll talk more about that when we get to that part of the show.
Okay. Sounds good.
And those were all of my goals.
So you had a fair amount. I didn't remember that you had so many.
Well, there's a couple that are long-term goals on there. So I like to always revisit those.
Kind of like my reading from my shelves thing.
Yeah. Was there anything while you were reading or working on these goals that you found really worked for you or brought you joy in the process or something that you would go back to and do again and again?
Yeah. When I was working on this show and pulling my books together and just reflecting on last year, that sounds so funny. It was yesterday. But anyway, way back in the beginning of 2025, like January, February, March, I had a horrible reading experience. I just struggled so much with finding books that I really enjoyed, that were engaging and fun or thought-provoking, whatever. So I started thinking about what turned it around for me. And one of the things that really turned it around was starting to develop I don't want to say seasonal TBRs because I didn't have to read the book.
Sure.
But I put together seasonal piles of possibility that I could randomly pick and choose from. There was no pressure. I didn't have to read any of the books, but it just gave me a little bit of focus. And I loved that because my seasonal TBRs kind of reflect how I feel the season is. So I'll give you an example. It's winter.
Yeah.
So I'm starting my winter seasonal pile of possibilities. I want books that are cold or snowy or really cozy. I want to read mysteries. I want to read science fiction, literary fiction, long books that I can really take my time with. And so each season I developed just a list of books that I own. The lists come from all the books that I own. And I felt like that's what really turned my reading around this past year.
Yeah.
Reading in series, my goal to finish series or bring them up to date. That was wonderful because I was spending time with characters that I love, that feel like my friends, my acquired family.
Right.
And when you're doing that, when you're with characters that you really, really enjoy, it just makes your reading better. So continuing in the series was a good thing for me.
Yeah.
And then finally, and I don't know if this is going to sound weird or not, but reading classics and rereading some of my favorite, especially kid classics, was just such a wonderful experience. So much so that it's going to impact what the goals I have for 2026, which we'll talk about later. But those are, I think, are the things that really turned my reading around and made the rest of the year feel so meaningful and enjoyable. How about you? Did you have anything that brought you joy, or was your reading kind of average?
I think one of the things that I picked up on was, and I know I've mentioned this before, allowing myself to start multiple books at a time and engaging in the moodiness. It's so interesting that we've kind of switched a little bit our approaches. Yeah. I still do make seasonal TBRs. For me, that just adds in the vibes of a season. Yeah. But I might pick up one and then want to start the other one and then want to start. So I might have like 5 or 6 that I'm running at the same time. Yeah. Now that does mean, like, currently, if I had been actively reading, I would have 5 or 6 books I'd have to finish in December to like tie everything up. Yeah. But I've really found that allowing myself to be kind of moody, of like, I'm reading a really serious book and I just am not in the mood for it. Let me pick up something a little bit different. Having that ability to do that has really enhanced the experience for me. And I think I've talked about this a little bit too, but I do, when I'm feeling really vibey, I will put on like atmosphere sounds with certain books. So, when I was reading Sherlock Holmes and the Christmas Demon at the beginning of the year last year, at the end of 2024, I found like Victorian dark Christmas music. And I just had that play while I was reading it. Or I've done some others. And so it that really adds in feeling totally immersive in the story. Yeah, I think those are the things that I found just really enhanced my reading this year.
Yeah, I was just thinking too, to give you a perspective on how my seasonal pile of possibilities really impact my reading. The books on the list usually end up only making up about 50% of the books I read in a season. So it's not dictatorial. It isn't that I have to only pick books up from there. I'm still definitely a hardcore mood reader. Yeah. But I also find that I like a little bit of structure, and having that list that I can go to when I'm not sure what I want to read next is just really working for me.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just so interesting. And I think, and I know that we've talked about this, that I think podcasting has at least made me a lot more aware of my reading life, what I like to do, what doesn't work, a lot more reflective of how I like to read, just more self-aware. And then, as I meant, like, it's just interesting how we're kind of like building off of each other a little bit on what that looks like too.
How we've impacted each other's reading too.
Yeah. And how talking about books on a regular basis makes us just more self-reflective.
Yeah. Very true.
Yeah. Okay. Shall we dive into our books?
Let's, because we've done a lot of talking.
We have. Okay. So this is our 5 favorite books. They're in no particular order. Now,
Not
some
for
of
me.
these,
Yeah.
right. Some of these we may have talked about before.
Yes, I'm sure.
And that is just simply because these are the best books of the year for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
So, again, there might be some repetition, but please allow us, listeners, to just gab about these books.
Yeah, gush about these books because we feel like everybody should read them.
Yes. Yes.
All right, should I start?
Yes, please.
Okay, like Julia said, my list is not in any particular order. I'm also not including any rereads. I did a lot of rereading this year, and as you can guess, rereads started out as 5 stars, and mine stayed that way. I could just make a whole list of 5-star rereads.
Yeah.
So there are no rereads on this list. Every book I'm talking about is new to me in 2025. Okay, all that's out of the way now. The first book I want to talk about is A Walk in the Park, the true story of a spectacular misadventure in the Grand Canyon by Kevin Fedarko. This is nonfiction, and it is his memoir relating his truly spectacular misadventures through hiking in the Grand Canyon. So he started at one end of the canyon and hiked the whole way through. There is no trail to do that. So you're doing a lot of backcountry hiking, camping. He did it with a friend, a photographer friend named Peter McBride, and they did it over the course of a year. So they did not through hike from beginning to end in one big adventure.
Okay.
They did it in chunks.
Yeah.
And after the first chunk that was just a miserable fail, they got people to help them along the way who had experience doing it. But the reason I like this so much is you get Grand Canyon history, you get through hiking history, you get the current state of the canyon as it relates to its indigenous people and how tourism is impacting it. It's a superb story. The storytelling is great. The writing is fantastic. Kevin Fedarko is an incredible writer. I knew from like the first page that I was going to love reading his story. The nature writing is just spectacular. And the canyon itself is a character in this story. Very complex and very vivid character. So you and I have been talking about doing a podcast where there are books where the setting is such a strong,
almost a character itself.
right? Or the atmosphere.
Yeah.
And this is a book that I would probably put in an episode like that because of the fact that the Grand Canyon is so viscerally real in this book.
Yeah.
For Goodreads, I always put a little blurb for myself. It's private. It's not for public viewing, but I'm just going to read what I put for Goodreads because I usually do this when we do our reviews. I said, it's excellent, part below rim through hiking history, part Native American trauma and their indisputable ties to the canyon, part love letter to the physical world of the canyon, and part author memoir. Beautifully written with breathtaking, evocative passages that feel unforced and natural, not as humorous as I initially thought, but I didn't miss the humor. Took me back to my own hiking experience on the Havasupai Trail 4 decades ago. I was compelled to Google so many things. It's lyrical, melancholy, but hopeful, and a very raw reading experience. So if you like nonfiction, memoir, with a real focus on the natural world with superb writing, I highly recommend this. And it feels like an adventure. Like you're reading it, you're turning the pages to see what's going to happen next. Because there are some truly like life-threatening situations that take place. Very, very good.
Yeah. I feel like you definitely have mentioned that.
I have, yeah. Yep. All right, Julia. That's book number 1. Again, not in any order because I couldn't order these.
Right.
What's the first book you want to talk about?
It's interesting that our first books both have some element of Native American in them because my first book is Firekeeper's Daughter by Angeline Boulley.
Yes, you've talked about this numerous times.
Right, a couple of times. So just a little summary for those of you who maybe this is the first time that you're hearing this. This is the story of a 17-year-old Daunis. I don't remember her last name, but she is living in the Upper Peninsula, Michigan, as part of the Ojibwe community there. After a double murder and or murder-suicide, she gets pulled into being an undercover investigator to help figure out what's going on.
Oh, okay.
That's all kind of on the back. Like I'm not kind of revealing too much there. But there's a lot of themes kind of looking at teenage Ojibwe, like what's happening within the Native American culture, like what's going on with that. There's themes of addiction, cultural permissiveness versus courageousness. So what are people willing to fight for to protect their culture versus let go? Like, it's not a big deal. It's okay if it happens. There's a lot of conversations about, in the book, Ojibwe members participating in the casino building versus not in the casinos. What does it mean to protect the culture versus allowing it to grow with the rest of the world? Self-identity. Mm-hmm. There's other themes of, cultural lessons as well. So looking at the drug culture and the drug invasion within Native American communities. And then what is versus just like bad medicine versus true drugs. Mm-hmm. Understanding what blanket parties are or the insignificance of yellow peonies within this group, tribal membership and how it can be denied to somebody. And then I'm not going to try to say some of the words that the
Ojibwe words. Yeah.
Right. I want to be respectful and not butcher them. But I loved the fact that Angeline Boulley, who is an Ojibwe member herself, just filled this book to the brim with these words, this culture. You reading this, you knew that this was a life that she had lived and that she knew it inside and out. Characters greeted each other with the cultural greetings. There were cultural names being used. So it was a true immersion for me in this culture, while also looking at the larger scope of what does it mean to grow up in that environment as well. Yeah. This, supposedly, there's a series, a TV show going to be made about this.
Oh, okay.
There's also a couple of other books as well based off of other characters within the story. So really, really enjoyed it. This is one that I also Googled a lot. I would put on a Native American flute music while I was listening to this. I was trying to aim for Ojibwe, but internet is weird about that sometimes. But then I was also watching powwows afterwards because there's a lot of conversation about dance and that kind of a thing. Just a wildly immersive experience. And I thought about it for a very, very long time afterwards.
Mm-hmm. It's been on my shelf for years.
Yeah.
So I think it might be a summer book. I'll pick it up in the summer.
I mean, it kind of goes across a couple of months, like almost a school year, but it's a fabulous one for the summer. Yeah. Okay. What's your second one?
I know I've talked about this book as well on the show, and that is Island of Sea Women by Lisa C. Mm-hmm. This is the story of the Haenyeo, who are female free divers from Jeju Island in Korea. Lisa C. always writes books about women and female friendships. They usually span several decades across a woman's lifetime, and they're always placed in a specific time in history. So for this, we start during the Japanese occupation before World War II. Then there's World War II. Then there is the Korean War, and then we come up into contemporary times, I think like early 2000s. At the end, there are people using cell phones. So it's a large span of history. It's fascinating. The Haenyeo culture, the women are the breadwinners, the men take care of the children. And so you get an intimate look at that cultural setup. You also get a very fascinating view of the Haenyeo culture, how the women interact and how there's a hierarchy. I found it very fascinating. It's a type of historical fiction I love, where you focus very intimately on people who are living life in a particular cultural reference and time frame. On Goodreads, I wrote, it's a very difficult but fascinating book about the cultural and political history of Jeju Island, Korea, told through the perspective of a famous Haenyeo, Young Suk, from the time she is a young girl until she's in her 80s. We see an intimate portrait of a woman pressed to the limit of her physical and emotional endurance, painted against the backdrop of Japanese colonialism, World War II, the Korean War, and into modern times. Themes include friendship, family relationships, the Haenyeo culture, feminism, and forgiveness. It's very, very good. Very difficult and brutal in places. The history of Korea and of Jeju Island in particular is just very brutal.
Yeah.
So there were some very hard scenes to read. But again, I did a lot of Googling because I was just fascinated with this female-focused culture.
Yeah. I mean, and I know when you mentioned this, I brought this up as well, but it almost seems like it would be a tandem read to Pachinko.
Yes, they would talk very well together.
Yeah. I don't remember exactly where Pachinko is set. I know it's Korea,
it's
but
Jeju
Island.
I think it starts in Jeju Island. Yeah.
And
they end up in Japan.
Well, yes. And so then again, you're looking at a lot of that at the same time too.
A lot of very powerful countries fought over control of Jeju Island, and the poor people that lived there just
had no say.
Brutalized.
Yeah.
So if you like historical fiction, and there is, everybody's poo-pooing World War II historical fiction right now because the market is saturated. This is not a focus. Like the World War II aspect, it's all happening in the background.
Yeah.
The focus is on the people and the community, and just the wars come into play based on how it's impacting their regular life. Yeah, highly recommend. If you are a historical fiction lover at all, if you like stories about female relationships, definitely this is a book to read.
Yeah. And I think as a whole, at least us in Western cultures don't know a ton about the history of Eastern, of Japan, Korea, China, etc. And so I think these books serve a really important purpose of bringing that to our attention as well.
And America is not painted in a very nice light.
No, which is important.
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah. Okay. Are we going to stay in a serious tone, Julia, or are we moving to a lighter?
Okay. With some serious elements, but it's a lighter one.
All right. Let's hear it.
So this is Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez. This book came off of my bingo card. So again, asking myself the question, why am I so anti? But this is the story of Justin and Emma. So they separately, Emma is a travel nurse, so she kind of floats wherever. And Justin is based out of Minnesota, I believe. And he happens to post a Reddit post making the claim that he has this curse where every person he dates will go on to find the one after they break up.
Yeah.
And Emma happens to see this post, and the friend that she's with encourages her to reach out. And so she and Justin develop a relationship, a friendship, because of the shared commonality. And so they decide that it makes sense. Well, why don't we try to break this curse? We'll fake date each other for a little bit and see if we can settle this.
And then hopefully they will both find their forever person afterwards, when they break up. Yeah, it's like tricking fate or something.
It starts simple enough.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of life that's happening at the exact same time. There shouldn't be too many spoilers what I'm about to say. Depends on where you look for the synopsis. This will all come up. Both Justin and Emma are in their 20s. Like, I don't remember if they're later 20s, but they're like older adults. Justin is set to take custody of his 3 younger siblings when his mom has to report to jail in a week or so for an unknown period of time. And Emma has deep abandonment hurts from a here one day, gone another, psychologically unstable mother. And so as things begin to happen between them, these things are bubbling up to the surface.
There's a lot of baggage.
Right. I loved how real this story was. And not real as in like, oh, that's touching really close to home, but real as in so relatable. Like the domestic scenes of them eating breakfast together, cleaning up dinner felt so sparkly and so real that I could have just sat and watched them just do that for hours on end because it was just wonderful. This is a romance. So if you didn't pick up on that yet, it's a romance. It is a clean romance. It is not spicy, which
That's
I
nice.
really appreciate.
Yes, yeah.
Where some other romances I think tend to fall more Hallmark, like Insta love or whatever.
Right.
This felt very much like actually developing a relationship with an adult. There's emotional maturity on both sides, or if not emotional maturity, emotional awareness, be able to say, to be able to speak into that. This is a book that has just settled all around my understanding of romance books and romance stories and what I look for in a romance. One of the notes that I wrote here is I have suddenly become a fan of Abby Jimenez, but it's going to be a while till I read anything else from her because I want this story to last a very, very long time.
Okay. I was just going to say she has a new book coming out in 2026.
Okay.
I saw another romance.
She has a couple. She kind of does, like, from the sounds of it, same world. So you'll get like one character in one book that then the next book will be their story. So you kind of like overlap a little bit.
You can read them out of order.
Oh, yeah.
It doesn't matter. But if you read them in order, then you get the Easter eggs of knowing the people that come along. Yeah.
But this was wonderful. And I read it in the summer. I started it the last day of vacation and finished it like 2 or 3 days. This might have been the only book that I stayed up until like 2:00 in the morning to finish. This was wonderful. The writing was catchy. Like, not snippy, but like it just pulled you right in. It flowed easy.
You wanted to keep turning pages.
Right. And it's told from both of their perspectives. So one chapter is Justin, the other chapter is Emma. And so you kind of get both sides.
I like that setup for romances. I like both characters in the couple. I like getting their perspective.
It was lovely.
Yeah.
Lovely.
Sounds like you found your formula for romances
I found
you
something.
enjoy.
Now there is hard things. So the things that I mentioned, like you see it play out, it is hard. But also
isn't that
wonderful.
real life?
Oh my
Even when you're developing a romantic relationship with someone, you're still dealing with everything else you deal with.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So this one was wonderful.
Yeah. I've heard a lot of people say that they really, really love that book.
Yeah. Totally unexpected surprise. And
that's even better.
Right. Right. I was expecting a mushy gushy Hallmark, like, ugh. And no, I couldn't read it fast enough. All right, Mom, what's book 3?
Book 3 for me is My Ăntonia by Willa Cather. This is an American classic published in 1918. This was a book that I was supposed to read in high school. Read the first couple of pages and was just like, nah.
No.
But I know myself as a reader much better now than I did when I was 16 or 17. And I heard that Willa Cather's writing was quite beautiful, descriptive in a way that I like. Not too purpley prose, but just like you can tell she's picking very specifically the adjectives she wants to use. Anyway, I could go on and on about that. But I decided to pick this up this year. It's a book I've owned for quite a while. It's been on my shelf. And it is a very quiet story of the American prairie and prairie life in the late 1800s. It centers on a friendship between an orphan boy who's about 12. His name is Jim Burden. And he's sent to live with his grandparents who live on the prairie. And on the way there, he meets a bohemian immigrant girl named Ăntonia. They're going to the same place. They develop a friendship, and you just watch that friendship grow over the course of their teenage years in little vignettes. Like this book is not, it doesn't have how do I say this? There is a through plot, but you get the impression for each chapter you're just reading these little short stories and they all connect. The prairie in this book is an absolute character, just like with the Grand Canyon book. This book, the setting is a character. I appreciated the peek into the community, the memorable side characters, like Jim's grandfather is just such a wonderful, memorable character. And there's also a woman in town, I can't remember what her name is, but she's a force to be reckoned with, and she was great too. And the other thing I loved is the representation of how people cared for one another. When there were hard winters, people who weren't doing as well were helped by people who had more. Just somebody died, the whole community came around them. It just, I loved reading that. I will definitely reread this at some point. For Goodreads, I just wrote absolutely gorgeous writing, and that is so true. The descriptions of the plains through the seasons is so lush. I reveled in the writing. Poignant story of life on the plains in the late 1800s before the deterioration of the land and the experience of the Dust Bowl. The story of Ăntonia is told through the eyes and life experience of Jim Burden. So we never get Antonia's perspective until the very, very end. But Jim, we get to see what's happening to her through Jim's eyes. The friendship they share covers decades and is illustrated through connected vignettes across several formative years. A gorgeous, quiet novel that really resonates across time. I just absolutely loved it.
How long was this one?
It's not a long... It's maybe 250 pages.
Okay.
So it's, if you want to increase your classics experience, this is a good one because it's not long.
Yeah.
And it's easy reading. It's not hard reading. And beautiful. I mean, there are phrases, descriptive phrases of the prairie and the sky and the seasons that I can still recall. It's just really, really beautiful story.
Yeah. And I know that you've mentioned that one before.
Yeah, I think I did share this on the podcast.
Yeah.
All right, Julia, book number 4 for you.
3. Book number 3 for me.
Book number 3.
Yeah,
Julia,
you're ready to keep us
about
moving. Okay. So book number 3 is Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This was also my bingo card. Look at that. Surprise, surprise. Okay.
Yep.
So this is the story of a rock and roll band called The Six, and they're looking to make it big in the 60s and 70s. They consist of 2 brothers. I didn't write down the names in my notes. I remember Billy, and that's about it.
Yeah.
And that's because Billy's important. I'll get back to him in a second. But it's 2 brothers, 2 of their friends, and then a keyboardist who is a female keyboardist. And so there's some dynamics there. But after their first album does so well, they get pressure. I believe it's from their agent to make an album with another up-and-coming artist, and that is where Daisy Jones enters the scene. She is a very tragic character in terms of addiction and just everything.
Needy.
Right. And so the lead singer, Billy, they begin to orbit each other in not good, not healthy ways. And this sets the band towards the end. Like,
this builds the drama
right
to the climax of the story.
Right.
Yeah.
I didn't like Daisy and I didn't like Billy, but it made sense in this story. They were not designed to be likable characters.
Right. And I couldn't get past that.
Yeah. Which is funny because I normally cannot stand that. But I was so surprised by how much I enjoyed this. So it's written in transcripts of interviews. So kind of like you'd be watching a documentary and it's like they're talking. And so you get everybody's perspective on what's happening. And so Billy is kind of described as this person who doesn't care about what anybody else thinks and whatever else. But when you get his perspectives, it's the complete opposite. He's trying to balance everything and be the leader of the group. Doesn't redeem him, but it allows me to see a different perspective of how he's presented.
Yeah.
The atmosphere and the vibes are the 60s and 70s with hippies, but then also with some other things that are happening culturally at the moment or at that time. The behind the scenes of the rock and roll industry. So how records are made, how are you writing an album, how are you recording an album, what does the press look like, what does the tour look like all of that kind of stuff. I was surprised by how much I just wanted to keep reading this. I did not watch the show because it didn't look, from the clips that I saw, the trailer didn't look like the book. And so I didn't want to, but I really, really enjoyed this. I found it to be just a wonderful experience to read.
If you liked that and you want to watch a movie, I would recommend Almost Famous.
Okay.
It's an older movie, and it's told from the perspective of a groupie. And I think her name is called Penny Lane.
Okay.
And a young musical journalist. And he follows this band around on tour. I mean, things happen. There's probably some inappropriate scenes you might want to skip, but it's also gives you a really good view of what it was like to be in a band like that in the late 60s, early 70s. And it would be a different story. So you wouldn't be comparing Daisy Jones and the Six to the adaptation of it.
Right.
It would just be like it would be a good pairing to that book that you might enjoy. And the actress is Goldie Hawn's daughter. Why am I not I can't recall her name.
Oh.
But anyway, that is
Kate
who.
Hudson?
Yes, Kate Hudson is the lead female character. She plays Penny Lane.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Cool.
I started that book and stopped reading it. Not because I thought it was bad. I I just felt like I had read stories like that before.
Sure.
And so I was a little bit bored. But I can understand how if you never read a story like that, that format, the interview format makes it really easy reading.
Yes.
Like you just keep turning the pages because you want to know what the next person has to say.
Right.
So don't take my experience. That was a personal thing for me. I just felt like been there, done that. I don't need to do it again. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Now we can move on to book 4, Mom.
Okay. Now we're doing book 4. This is not a book. This is a series because I've read 5 of the books in 2025.
Okay.
I'm getting ready to read the 6th book, probably when I get home today.
Yes, don't say too much because I just started.
I won't.
This.
I'm not going to say anything about the volumes, but this is the Unselected Journals of Emma M. Lyon. I've read volumes 1 through 5, and this is by Beth Brower. And what you're reading are daily journal entries of Emma Lyon.
Yes.
These are written in the late 1800s. I think, is it 1894? I forget when they start. But she's 20 years old. She has been an orphan. She's been misused and abused by people. And she is about to come into her inheritance of a house called Lapis Lazuli House. And she is living there because she is allowed to, but she will own it soon.
Right.
And that's all I'm going to say. Emma is lovely. Yeah. She is witty. She is charming. She's a little bit ornery. She's not determined. She's not afraid to bend the rules to get what she needs to do. She's constantly getting in and out of scrapes with people, mostly because she cares about people, but sometimes it just happens. I would just describe her as sparkly. She makes friends easily. She has enemies. And she's just trying to figure out her place in the world as a woman in Victorian England, in an area of London that's a little bit magical called St. Crispian's. Yeah. So for the first volume, I just wrote, this was absolutely delightful. Emma is kind, witty, and a little ornery. She's been dealt some hard blows, like being orphaned. She had a love who died in a war. Her inheritance has been frittered away by a cousin-in-law who is ridiculous. Yeah. But she's also resourceful and motivated. I was invested almost immediately because of the writing and because of Emma's sparkling personality, her observations on life, and the charming tone of the writing. Emma's personality is a mix of Anne from Anne of Green Gables and Myrtle Hardcastle from Elizabeth Bunce. And I would almost say a little bit Emily Wilde, but I can't explain why, because Emily doesn't want to be around people. But I think it's the focus and the determination and the drive.
Yeah. I would almost say outlook on life too, maybe.
Yes. The story is whimsical and a little bit magical. There are ghosts. There's a ghost in St. Crispian's, and things get misplaced and end up in a shop.
Yep.
Not magically. People don't bring them there.
Right.
Well, no, I shouldn't say that. They end up in other people's houses and the people bring them to the shop. You just have to read the book to understand.
Right. It makes sense.
Yeah. It's an 1880s slice of life story told with wit and intelligence, and I love it. Yeah. I look forward to picking up the next volume every single time. I'm never disappointed. I think there's going to be a romance. It hasn't started yet, but there's lots of possibilities, which should annoy me. Like love triangles and love quadruple or love squares. I don't even know what to call it.
Love to-do lists. Right. Like who's
it should annoy me, but it does not. And every character is unique. Right. And I just love reading it. 100%. Yeah. Probably my favorite overall reading experience of 2025. Yeah.
And I started this 2 or 3 days ago and I finished it. I probably could have finished it in one sitting, but regardless, it was a really fun read. Yeah. And it's deceptively smart. Yeah.
The author is very smart in her writing, but you don't feel like that. You just feel like you're being entertained, but there's just so much good stuff in it. And there's more depth and heft than you think you're going to get. Yeah, it's just really good.
Yeah.
Really highly recommend. Yeah.
Yep.
Number 4 for you, Julia?
Yes. My number 4, this is The Lost Book of Eleanor Dare by Kimberly Brock.
Okay, you have brought this to the show.
Yes. Too. So the story centers around this is a legacy story without being a legacy story. Okay. So I'm not looking at multiple generations like Island of Sea Women, but there is a focus on the main character's her legacy. If that makes sense. Mm-hmm. So Alice is a World War II widow, and after her father passes, she returns to her ancestral home of Evertell. I wanted to say that this was situated outside of Georgia, but don't quote me on that. I know
it is from reading the back of the book.
I think it is. But anyway, it's in the deep South. So the weeping trees and like you have this really
the humidity,
right? Yeah. This really clear idea of where this is. When she comes to Evertell, she brings her 13-year-old daughter Pen, Penelyn, but they call her Pen, with her in the hopes that coming to Evertell and working through what they need to work through on the property will help Pen a little bit work through her grief of losing her father. Alice plans to sell the property, but as she begins to survey the damage, that decision kind of changes a little bit. And along the way, a legacy book from Eleanor Dare, so Alice's long ago ancestors, discovered with clues and insight into Eleanor's journey as the child of the first governor of the colony of Roanoke and what happens when that colony disappears.
Yeah.
Now, this is a speculative history, so Kimberly is kind of writing what might have happened. And if you have followed any research, there is research right now that suggests that they know exactly what happened to Roanoke.
Oh, okay.
And I don't remember what it is off the top of my head, but there's research that's saying that we know what happened now. But this book, it was atmospheric for the slow, sticky days of summer. I finished this while we were waiting to get into our beach house on vacation. Well, it was hot and sticky. Like it just was the perfect place. And it moves with the glitter of magical realism that's just on the edges. Mm-hmm. It's a story of women and family and history and legacy and grief and hope and love and community and all of those beautiful things wrapped together. What was also really cool is I finished this book and we had stopped to get ice cream at the little farm stand that's near typically where we stay. And as we were waiting for the ice cream, I happened to look up and on the wall was a Virginia Dare flower bag, which tied directly in to the book. So it was a really cool, serendipitous moment.
Yeah, connections.
Yeah, because some of these people are like actually real that we're building stories off of. And I didn't mention it here, but there is something called the Dare Stone that you can actually look into. And it's inscriptions that Eleanor Dare wrote about Roanoke. And so it's kind of tying all of this together. Really fabulous story. It does have a very slow plot, but I don't think the plot is the important thing. I think it's the character growth, the looking at all of those things together. So this was wonderful.
Sounds wonderful. And you did give this to me to read.
Yeah.
I just haven't gotten there yet. But I plan on reading it. Sounds like it's a book I would really enjoy.
I think you should read it next time we're at the beach. I know. So when we go in September, I think you should take it then. Okay. Because even though we don't go to Georgia for the beach, it pairs perfectly with where we go.
Yeah. Well, all that down there is kind of humid, deep south, swampy stuff. Yeah.
The trees with the weeping moss is just always what I picture.
Not swampy in a bad way. I mean swampy, humidity.
Yeah, sticky. You can't get away from it. Yeah, that kind of a thing.
Thick air.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right, Mom, number 5.
Okay, we're closing out my list with a book that I read at the beginning of December. And I honestly think this might have sent me into a reading slump.
Oh, no.
But the book I read was Time of the Child by Niall Williams. He's an Irish author. Mm-hmm. And I listened to this. It was narrated by Dermot Crowley, who was an older gentleman. And his narration, I think, fit the story very, very well. But I usually listen to books at about 1.3 times speed. I had to listen at 1 time speed because of his accent.
Okay.
So it did force me to slow down, and that kind of matched the feel of the story. This is a very, very slow, low plot story. It is the story of Christmas in 1962 in a little town called Faha, Ireland. It focuses on the relationship between the village physician and his daughter and the ways that their relationship changes when an abandoned baby enters their lives. This book is based in December. So the the baby has some interesting things that happen with it.
Okay.
It sounds like a very simple story, but there's so much more going on than just this one thing. You get a peek inside the daily life and society of a small Irish village in the mid-20th century. This is superb historical fiction. This is the historical fiction I like, where you're getting insight into just daily lives of people in a particular place and time, kind of like Island of Sea Women. Gorgeous descriptive writing, especially the setting. Again, this place is a character. The humor took me completely off guard many times. I listened to this book only when I was walking or driving, and I'd be walking on the trail and all of a sudden be laughing out loud because of what was said or a description. This is literary fiction. It's very internal. You're inside the doctor's head most of the time. There's a very slow pace. Plot is secondary. It's truly character development, and it really focuses on the doctor. It is a kind of a sequel. So there is another book called This Is Happiness that came first. And I think if you read that, then some of the characters that show up would be more meaningful. I didn't. This is the first one I read, and I enjoyed it just as is. I probably would get more pleasure if I read the first one, but you would not need to. I never felt lost in the story or anything. For Goodreads, I wrote an intentionally slow, quiet story about an aloof doctor and his daughter, the village they live in, and the events surrounding the Christmas of 1962. Absolutely gorgeous writing about a small town in Ireland and the small town life that goes on there. Sad, funny, poignant. I listened to this slowly and enjoyed it immensely. I can still recall particular words and phrases. A wonderful, intelligent, introspective story that I have thought a lot about since I finished, which to me means it's a 5-star read. Yeah. Especially love the setting and the historical perspective. This is my kind of historical fiction. So if you like literary fiction, if you like Irish fiction and humor, if you like gorgeous writing, and if you like introspective stories, and you want a little bit of a Christmas vibe, this is a book that I would highly, highly recommend. It is not for everyone, though. Of all the books on my list, this is probably the one that I would be most reluctant to recommend widely. Just because of the slow pacing and the very introspective storytelling. Still, I loved it.
How long was it, did you say?
13 hours on audio. So it's not a short book. It's not a short book.
Okay.
And the Irish narration just added that extra element of enjoyment for me. Okay, Julia, we are coming down the home stretch.
Yes.
What's book number 5 for you?
So trying to figure out the last book to put on this list was very tricky because there's 3 or 4 others I could have put down. And I was like, I just need to put something. So this is Swordheart by T. Kingfisher, which I know I've talked about.
Yeah.
Now, I am going to say this. The middle of this book is a little slow. And so if fantasy stories that move slowly is frustrating for you as a reader, be warned. There's an element of romance in this, but I don't recall it being spicy. I mean, the scene is told, but it's not aggressively spicy or overdone in any way. So the story is this. Hala they call her an old maid. She's in her 30s, which is not an old maid, but the running joke, is that she's so old and nobody could possibly want to marry her. And
she's past her prime.
Right. Yeah. She is a widow. Her husband had passed, and she lived with an uncle by marriage. So her husband's uncle, and they were fine. They were good friends. When the uncle passed, he deeded the home and his inheritance to Hala and not the rest of his family. So the story picks up that Hala is being locked in her room in this house that is rightfully hers by inheritance by the rest of her by marriage family, under the condition that she either marries one of them, and the only eligible person is a sufferable mama's boy with sweaty hands.
Ew.
or she stays in her room ad infinitum. So this is an awful choice for anybody. And so Hala is not one to do what she's told.
Right.
And so she elects to end her own suffering. And in so doing, she finds a sword. This uncle was a bit of a junk collector, so these rooms are like hoarder rooms. And she finds a sword under her bed and goes to pull it out to like fall on. And out jumps a big old man with another sword.
Just like a genie in the bottle kind of thing.
And I know I've talked about this opening scene of this sword. I laughed out loud. I think I laughed out loud in the bookstore as I read it. But Sarkis is the guardian of the wielder of the sword. So whoever pulls the sword, he acts as their protector until the sword is either given away or that wielder dies.
Right.
And there's some magic involved. This is a fantasy. There's a story here that's happening. So now he is Hala's protector. Mm-hmm. And he is righteous in his need to protect her
duties. Yeah.
So they suddenly are launching themselves out of this house in the middle of the night, terrifying everybody. And so there's a laugh out loud, haphazardous journey to regain this house and her inheritance. So between escaping the house in the middle of the night to finding help from religious lawyers, and I put what in quotation.
A religious lawyer.
Yes.
Okay.
To regaining the house and then everything that's happening in between. There is elements of fantasy that I've never seen anywhere else before.
Yeah.
And then Hala, I found her to be such a relatable character with the size that she's described as, which would just be a really normal woman's size. But because all fantasy women are like 18 and like stick thin.
Stick thin and 5 foot tall.
Right.
And their rescuer is 8 foot tall.
Right. So I found her to be like a legit woman.
Right.
Like an actual relatable character. She's a little bit bumbly. So she gets started talking about something in rabbit trails for 2.5 minutes and you have to like bring her back into the conversation. But she's so enjoyable to spend time with. Mm-hmm. This is the first in a series, so it sounds like there's other stuff happening with Sarkis and how he became this 1,000-year-old protector of the wielder of the sword, and there's a couple other people that had similar fates to him, and so it sounds like the other books are going to follow those other people.
Yeah.
And T. Kingfisher, much to my incredible surprise, since the first book I ever read was a horror story, is becoming a favorite author.
Yeah.
So all of the other books that T. Kingfisher has written has gone directly into my TBR. But this was so much fun. I laughed out loud on multiple occasions. I definitely was very confused as to what was happening on a couple of occasions because of just what the fantasy was doing.
Yeah.
I don't want to say it felt like a pointless journey, but it's one of those journeys where it just felt like we were on just for the sake of being on.
Just to tell a story.
Right. But it was really, this was so wonderful. And the cover is so pretty and really, really enjoyed this. I don't know why it took me so long to get to this.
Yeah.
So
that's always a good feeling when you pick up a book that you have had for a while or known about for a while and ends up being really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this was a fabulous fantasy fill for me.
Well, 10 books that we offer to our listeners as books that are worthy and worthwhile of time and effort.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's a bajillion more that we could talk about.
I mean, I read 98 books. Picking 5 was very difficult.
Right.
I have a whole pile of like 4.25, 4.5 star books. Well, I have 5-star books that I could have talked about.
Oh my gosh,
that I didn't bring to the show.
Yeah.
So many worthwhile books that we just don't have time to talk about.
Yeah.
Yep. We were considering doing like a best of the rest. Maybe we still will. We'll see.
Somewhere. Yeah, we'll figure it out.
Before we close out, do you have any 2026 reading goals that you want to mention?
To read?
What?
I want to read.
To read. Oh. I'm sitting here like a doofus. What? You want to read a book.
So, because the baby is due in May, it gives me a little bit of time to get some leeway in. Now that I am not throwing up, I feel more like myself. But to be really flexible, my goals for next year are just to read.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to set a number goal. I'm not going to do anything. I want it to be attainable.
That's smart. No pressure.
Yeah. I am going to move the bingo card over, like I mentioned, but I'm going to do this instead of the library, which as much as I want to continue to go to the library and become a part of that community, I just know for this life change, it's going to make a lot more sense if I just do this through Audible. Mm-hmm. And so I'm going to listen to these books, whether it's for late night feeds or like whatever. Mm-hmm. I know Audible is going to be an easier way to go than a physical book.
Yeah.
I'm also going to continue the Modern Mrs. Darcy reading journal. And again, because this is something that I'm going to do for years, it's a pick at as I want to. Mm-hmm. And that is also Audible as well. So again, it continues to open up that flexibility for reading.
Okay. So your goal is just to read.
And I should specify, not children or baby books. Right. I want to read a book that's for me.
Well, I have really reduced the goals that I want for next year. I'm going to continue reading down my series or keeping up with them because I feel like that enhanced my reading so much. Mm-hmm. So I want that to be a focus, but that's not really a goal. Yeah. I'm going to set my reading goal at 70 and I'm going to try to stay closer to that, like 80 books, 82 books, 85. That just feels better for me. Or 70, like around that number.
Yeah.
The two goals, measurable goals that I'm going to do this year is I want to read 12 classics and I want to do 12 rereads since rereading was such a delight last year. One classic a month, one reread a month. And I already have the classics and the rereads planned for January and February.
Oh, nice.
Because I'm working on my seasonal TBR for winter. So I think in January, I'm going to read Ethan Frome by Edith Wharton. And yes, I know this is a sad book. I'm prepared. Okay. But it is based in winter. And Edith Wharton is an excellent, believe it or not, nature writer. Yeah. So I'm going to do that. And then in February, I think I'm going to read White Nights by Fyodor Dostoevsky. That's that's like a novelette. So those two classics I've never read before, and they'll be easy because they're small. Not easy reading,
but not like 400
short,
pages.
Right. Yeah. And then the two rereads I'm doing for January, February, I'm going to read The Snow Child by Eowyn Ivey in January, and I'm going to read The Golem and the Jinni in February. Those are both winter books as well. And I have the second book by Helene Wecker. She wrote The Golem and the Jinni. I have that book and I want to read it. So I want to read this first one again. It's been years, probably a decade since I read that one. So those are my goals: 12 classics, 12 rereads, continue with seasonal TBRs, and 70 books. Nice. And read books from my shelves as much as I can.
Yeah.
I'm also planning on doing a huge unhaul here in January of books that just don't interest me anymore and are taking up space in my life, my brain, my shelves, whatever.
Well, I'll take a look at those before you actually dump them.
Yes, I will. Yeah, I always let people dig through.
Right. It's so funny that we were talking earlier about like how you have minimalistic tendencies and I'm starting to develop mine. Yeah. And yet our bookcases are the one thing that we are not minimalistic.
Right. But I have been. Every year I've been more and more focused on what I want on my shelves and what.
Right. Being really intentional. The intentionality is, I think, what I'm getting at here. But it's just as funny that like I'm learning, especially prepping for baby, like multi-purpose, intentional, like what do we actually need? What can we wait on? And yet my bookcase, I'm ready to just keep throwing books at it. Like it's just so funny where we allow those tendencies and where we don't.
Yeah. Thank you for letting us just blab about books and our reading experiences. This episode is ending up being a little bit longer than we generally like our episodes to go, but this is a special one. So I hope that you'll give us grace for that. Up next is our yearly, we've been doing this yearly for the past couple of years, review of upcoming books that we are really looking forward to. So, and it'll probably be the first half of 2026.
Yeah, which is what we do.
Yeah, because end of year isn't really out yet. Like we don't really know a ton of what's coming out after June.
There's just whispers at this point.
So that's what we're going to talk about next. Keep in mind that we haven't read these books.
Right.
So some of them could be really awful, which has been my experience in the past when I have picked them up.
Right.
But these are books that we are looking forward to.
Yeah.
Let's see. If you are feeling like it, you can rate us and review us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. We appreciate any feedback. We love when people leave comments, especially when they're kind.
Yes.
But if you don't feel like doing that, that's fine. Yeah. We're just happy that you're here and listening to us babble about something we love with people we love.
Right. That's the important thing.
Yes. Thank you for spending part of your day with us today. We just want to wish you a happy 2026.
Happy and safe 2026.
Yes. We hope that your year is filled with many, many blessings and love and laughter.
Yes.
And
peace.
Good reads.
Yes. Yes. All the good reads.
Thank you for spending part of your day with us today. We are so happy you're here in the Book Snug with us. We look forward to chatting with you about books again in the next chapter.
Yes. Bye, friends.
Hello, listeners and fellow book lovers. Welcome to the Book Snug, a bi-weekly conversational podcast about books and the reading life. My name is Julia.
And I'm Stephany.
And we're a mother and daughter who love reading and talking about books. The ones we adore and the ones we don't. We're delighted you're here, so grab your favorite hot drink or ice-cold beverage and settle in for another cozy, bookish chat.